Hello and welcome. So what we have here is a preset I made for the Juno 60 by Roland. It's called Sexy Space Harp. I didn't have another name for it, to be fair. It usually has reverb on it, but I've disabled it for this because, well, there's a reason. Here I have this little chain. I've got galactic reverb running at the end of the chain because what I wanted to do is add some crunch to this sound just for testing, because I discovered Proteus, or Proteus. It's free. I'll leave a link in the video description so that you can just click that to check it out, download it and everything. But it allows you to load up these models. So let me just explain. If you know anything about impulse responses, you know that they're great for capturing entirely linear processes, such as speaker cabinets or room reverbs. But if you want to capture a distortion pedal or some kind of device that adds saturation dependent on level or dynamics, an impulse response just isn't going to cut it, and that's when you either turn to an engineer who knows exactly how to match things up, and you use/buy their product, or you can use a neural network to train a model. And that's where Proteus comes in. So these are all the models that are freely provided on the Proteus website. And I've chosen this Blues Junior one, which he went through in a YouTube video, which I'll also link in the description. Now, the way it works, well, I've got it turned off at the minute up here. It's on here, but it's off up here. If I turn this on, it's going to be running through a Blues Junior amp, which he captured in the YouTube video. It's the volume control. It was captured from like 1%, 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, but well, I said up here for 25%. The reason why is because the Blues Junior, it's from 1 to 12, but yeah, you know, 0 or 1%, 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. So let's turn it on, see how it sounds. It's a very simple plugin. We have a drive and a level control. We can bump the level up and that won't do anything to the sound, just make it louder or quieter. But the drive, that is what is being modelled, so that is the volume knob of the Blues Junior amp. In this model, anyway. Oh, that's nasty, man. In a good way. This is why the reverb's at the end, because I want that to be added after the distortion. But then, I thought, it's a bit harsh on the top end, so I added in this filter, which is a Moog style filter from Archaria. Put this on. It's got some cut off on it. And then I'm using the emphasis knob to add a bit of resonance that sweeps between a couple of harmonics. So yeah, because of the way you capture it in 5 steps, as you turn this controller, it interpolates between the 5 captures. So if that controller is somewhere between 25% and 50%, it will interpolate between the two. I think it sounds pretty damn good actually. Let's load another model. I have one here that somebody else did, and they just gave it away for free. All of the models are stored in these JSON files, which you can just share if you want. So yeah, I'm going to pick it. Yeah, it's very high gain. Turn this filter off. But, I mean, if you shove that through, let's just turn it down a bit, and then we'll shove it through a speaker cabinet IR. Oh, and just while I'm selecting this, I have a orange terraced amp, which is a preamp with a tube in it. So for a test I might do a capture of that, but that's for another time. And just like that, it became a lot more listenable. Stick it before the reverb. So this is a Messer, I do believe. Yeah, let's try Marshall. It would actually help if I had the tone on. So on the cap, it's going to be harsher. Let's try orange with a condenser. Turn it off. I'm not hearing much difference on this one when I move this control, but there's different options. You can just do a snapshot of just one setting, and whoever made that model might have just done that. But yeah, let's try some other ones. The Princeton amp, clean. Ooh, I quite like that. And put the filter back on. Get rid of the Miko. See, I'd have to look into it, but I'm not sure if this model was captured direct or not, or if it was captured by a mic, in which case it's already kind of got an impulse response, maybe baked into it. And then I'm applying another one with that spectrum in Miko. But you know, you use your ears. If it sounds good, it sounds good. There's no two ways about it. Rules were made to be broken. Sometimes. Oh, and just for a bit of extra information, ML Sound Lab is not the same as GuitarML. Two different groups, just in case that were causing any kind of confusion for people. Lol. I mean, I'm using guitar stuff on a synth, which, I mean, you can do, there's no problem with it, but I think it sounds good. It's kind of got an industrial vibe to it. But I will try it with guitars at some point. It's just late at night, you know. Let's try some others. Let's try Little Big Muff. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what I expected. Fuzzy, but kind of nice and smooth, too. Especially on the low end. I mean, listen to this. Proco Rat. I do like the Rat, to be fair, let's try it. Put the filter back on. back to more of the original sound and without the reverb. Now it did have this reverb on. So yeah, that's Proteus by GuitarML. It's pretty new. I mean, the video he did was 6 days ago, showing how it worked and how to use it for capturing models and things. So I expect it'll just improve from here. One thing that I would like to see is 96 kHz sample rate support, because obviously if I just add in this voiceover in post, when I'm changing these settings, it does cut my sound temporarily. Stand by. We're back. So now I'm in 96 kHz, but check out what happens. So everything sounds good. Turn this on. Turn that reverb off. Yeah, it sounds broken. So if I unload it and reload it, it's not happening now. That's interesting. Yeah, when I first loaded it onto a track at 96 kHz, there was a weird ringing frequency, like a terrible whining, but it seems to have gone now. But yeah, I mean, listen to that. Sounds awful. So if I go back to 48 kHz, and I do the same thing, it's working fine. So 48 kHz is the maximum it can really do. Is that a problem? Well, potentially. So when I get some time, I'm going to run some analysis on this Proteus plugin and have a look at exactly what's going on. For example, how much aliasing there is and things like that. But the reason why I like running at 96 kHz these days is certain plugins don't really do too well with oversampling. I'm looking at you, Cherry Audio. No, I mean, I do like Cherry Audio plugins, it's just, yeah, you can't deny that. So that's one reason why a project might be running at 96 for me. But this brings me to probably the main reason why I like to use 96 kHz, and that's because of the lower latency that you get from doing so. I mean, 48 kHz with 128 samples is 6.1 milliseconds of latency, round trip, which you can see in the top right corner. And it's perfectly workable under normal circumstances. Not ideal, but workable. But if you're tracking and you're using plugins that add latency, then it's only going to get worse from there. So at this point, you have two options. You can either lower the buffer size to 64 samples, which I often do, and that'll get me down below 4 milliseconds of latency, which is sod all really. But yeah, that's if your CPU can hack it, because then your CPU has less time to process the current block before the next block is ready for processing. Or, option 2, you can raise the sample rate. And if I raise the sample rate to 96 kHz, then it becomes 3.6 milliseconds of latency, round trip, even with 128 samples in the sample block. But this is again, if your CPU can hack it, because then plugins will be using 2 times as much CPU, when for non-linear processors there's no gain to be had from doing so. And let's face it, most processing that you're going to be doing in your DAW is going to be entirely linear. Well, you might be using a lot of distortion plugins and stuff, compressors, or you might have a lot of analog emulations running on every channel and things like that. But think about every EQ and reverb, and even things like a simple volume control. You might have a few of them even in your effects chains for gain staging and stuff. And they're all going to be working 2 times harder at 96 kHz when compared to running at 48 kHz. And of course, because they're all linear processors, we can accurately represent those frequencies and everything at lower sample rates. There's just nothing to gain from running at 96. You might as well run at 48 and then just oversample what you need to. But yeah, I mean, I digress. So yeah, there's just some things to consider and everything, but I would like to see 96 kHz implemented into this plugin. you know, for in cases when I am running at 96. Other than that, maybe some simple form of customizable GUIs so that, you know, different models can have different GUIs loaded and things. That would be pretty cool for people. And I know it's not really the scope of this kind of thing, because this plugin is just to load up pre-captured models and everything. But maybe you could have a tone control on there and some basic filter types to choose from. Maybe even a high pass and low pass filter sort of section. Just a couple of things that GuitarML could consider. But definitely 96 kHz and beyond, maybe. I mean, please. This isn't your granddaddy's potato gramophone, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's Proteus or Proteus, however you want to say it. Check out the links in the description, as I say, for more information and to download it. And yeah, try it out, why not? So if you like this content, feel free to comment, like, share and subscribe. You know the deal. And until next time, thank you for watching.